The Galactic Council gathered in the grand orbiting hall above the silver world of Veldran. Thousands of species filled the chambers, their voices humming in a chorus of disgust and fear. The great holographic banners above the assembly displayed the blue sphere of Earth, marked with the crimson symbol of exile. The vote was almost complete. For centuries, the Galactic Council had governed the known stars with strict codes of conduct. Every species that joined was bound by the Charter of Harmony, a list of rules older than most civilizations in the room. No wars without sanction, no independent militaries, no uncontrolled technology. Earth had been a young and eager member once, desperate to prove itself civilized and cooperative. But humanity's rapid advances in energy manipulation, quantum warfare, and autonomous systems made the elder species uneasy. They feared a species that learned too fast, fought too well, and questioned too much. The council's speaker, a being of light and shifting tones, announced the decision in solemn calm. By decree of the unified vote, Earth is expelled from the council. No trade, no treaties, no shared science. Let humanity fade into isolation. The declaration echoed through the chamber. Some delegates sighed in relief, others in sorrow. Few noticed that the human envoy did not speak in protest. The lone representative of Earth, a man in a simple gray uniform, stood silently as the decree finalized. He bowed slightly, turned, and walked out of the hall without a word. The council thought it was over. They thought the humans would plead for forgiveness or fade into the void as so many exiled worlds had done before. But humanity had already made its decision. On Earth, the news was met not with despair but with quiet fury. The United Earth Directorate gathered beneath the vast sky dome of New Geneva. The president stood before the world's leaders and military commanders. They voted to expel us, she said. They thought they could chain us with their rules. So we'll burn the rulebook. The hall erupted in thunderous applause. Humanity had long followed the Council's restrictions, limiting their fleets, suppressing their weapons research, dismantling technologies that could alter the balance of power. But now those restrictions were gone. The old laboratories beneath Luna and Mars reopened. The forbidden projects deep in the asteroid belts reignited. Engineers who had been bound by law to hide their genius were unleashed. The first signal that something had changed came 3 months later. A fleet of ships emerged from Sol's outer boundary. They bore no transponder codes, no council identification, only the emblem of a single burning star. They were dark, angular, and silent, warships forged in secret. The council dismissed the reports at first. They believed humanity was posturing. But when those ships began dismantling entire pirate armadas in minutes, the galaxy took notice. The council sent warnings. Humanity ignored them. The galactic fleets attempted to blockade Earth's trade routes. The blockade lasted 42 minutes. Every ship that approached the Sol border vanished, disassembled by swarms of invisible drones that shredded hulls at the molecular level. The council called it impossible. Humanity called it innovation. Soon, humanity began rewriting what the galaxy thought was possible. They unveiled the Aegis Network, an energy field that wrapped Earth and its colonies in a shimmering veil of dark light, bending physical law to their will. Their engines no longer burned fuel. They folded gravity itself. Their weapons didn't fire projectiles. They rewrote the space around their targets, erasing them cleanly from existence. At the heart of it all was one principle: freedom through defiance. When a council task force attempted to invade Mars, they expected resistance. What they found was annihilation. The humans didn't fight conventionally. They played by no rules, cared for no treaties, and accepted no limitations. They struck silently, surgically, and without mercy, but never without purpose. When the smoke cleared, every invader was gone, but Mars itself remained untouched. Not a single civilian structure was harmed. Humanity had learned to make war precise. The galaxy trembled. The once mighty council sent envoys begging for negotiation, but humanity no longer trusted their words. The Directorate's scientists released a transmission across the galactic network, a calm message carried on every frequency. You taught us to obey. You punished us for daring. Now we define our own laws. Meanwhile, the younger species, those long oppressed by the Council's bureaucracy, looked to Earth with admiration. They had seen the humans rise from nothing, defy ancient empires, and refuse subjugation. Small rebellions flared across the spiral arms. Colonies declared independence. Fleets switched allegiances. The Council's authority began to crumble, not under bombardment, but under the idea humanity had ignited. In the hidden depths of Earth's orbital command, Admiral Grant stood before a holographic projection of the Council's armada, assembling near the borders of Sol. "They're coming again," his officer reported. "Over 1,000 ships." Grant's eyes narrowed. "Then we'll remind them why we were expelled." The Second War began not with fire but with silence. Humanity's fleets didn't move. They waited as the Council's vast armada approached. Then, without a single shot fired, the enemy's systems began to fail. Engines froze. Weapons shut down. The humans had released the null wave, a pulse that rewrote machine logic. It didn't destroy. It enlightened. The ships simply stopped obeying their masters. When the Council's soldiers awoke from the confusion, they saw human rescue craft arriving instead of destroyers. The humans didn't gloat. They offered food, repairs, and safe passage home. That act of mercy broke the galaxy's fear more effectively than any weapon. The war ended not through surrender, but through revelation. The Council realized that humanity wasn't seeking domination. They sought autonomy. They wanted freedom from rules that choked progress, from codes that protected stagnation, from a system that punished those who dreamed too far. Years passed, and the Council's shattered remnants met again. This time the meeting was held not on Veldran, but in orbit above Earth. The chamber was simpler, humbler, but filled with more hope than before. Representatives of dozens of species gathered once more, not to judge humanity, but to learn from them. The human envoy, perhaps the same quiet man who once walked out in silence, addressed them. "When you expelled us, we could have vanished. Instead, we chose to rebuild a galaxy where no voice is silenced by fear. The rulebook you wrote was meant to keep peace, but it became a cage. We tore it apart not to destroy you, but to free you." The assembly listened in stillness. The Council's new speaker, a young voice filled with humility, asked softly, "And what law governs you now?" The envoy smiled. "The law of responsibility, the law that power must protect, not oppress. The law that no species has the right to decide the limits of another's potential." From that day, the Galactic Council ceased to exist as it once had. It became something new, a union of equals rather than rulers and subjects. And at the heart of it stood Earth, not as an empire, not as a conqueror, but as a reminder of what courage can create when shackles are broken. But the story did not end there. Humanity's curiosity never rested. They ventured beyond the known territories to the edge of the galactic rim, where the light of civilization faded into darkness. There they found remnants of civilizations older than memory, ruins that defied explanation, technologies that bent dimensions. Where others saw danger, humanity saw challenge. Exploration fleets vanished for years, only to return with discoveries that redefined existence. The principles of physics themselves were rewritten in the laboratories of Europa and Titan. The Aegis network became the foundation of interdimensional travel, and humanity's reach extended to parallel galaxies. In time, the old fear returned, not among aliens but within humanity itself. Some whispered that Earth was becoming what it once opposed, the unchallenged center of power. But those who led the new union remembered the lessons of the exile. They created safeguards not of law but of shared vision. Every world, human or alien, had a voice. No innovation was hidden, no species silenced. The galaxy learned balance through chaos, unity through rebellion. Centuries later, scholars across the stars would study the day the Council expelled Earth. They would mark it as the moment the galaxy changed course. They would say that when the Council voted to expel humanity, it was not Earth that lost membership. It was the galaxy that lost its certainty. And when humanity burned the rulebook, it didn't destroy order. It rewrote it into something greater, because in the end, the universe learned what Earth had known since the dawn of its existence. Progress is never born from obedience. It rises from defiance, courage, and the unbreakable will to move forward when every voice tells you to stop. And somewhere, far beyond the last mapped star, a lone human vessel crossed the void into the uncharted dark. Its engines whispered against the silence, carrying with it the same words that had once echoed through the heart of every free world. We do not follow the rules of others. We write our own,